Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Beyond Coaching. We appreciate your support of this podcast and also the Impactful Coaching Project. We're going to try something new starting this month. Up to this point, we've posted one episode a month, the first Monday of every month. We've been recording short 10 to 15 minute episodes with conversations with me and Dustin or conversations with Generation Z athletes. We will start posting these episodes the third Monday of every month. We hope you enjoy. We're excited about the interest that people have shown in this podcast, and we hope you enjoy these additional episodes. Thank you.
Again, we talk about 3D. It's something they do well, where they talk about what's your yearly plan. And like at the high school level, they provide examples of football coaches going to do home visits before the season starts with parents and family to go to their turf. Time investment. If you don't plan way ahead, you're not going to be able to pull it off. But yeah, just what are your day-to-days? How are you going to do it? And if you plan it, it works. It can't just be, I care about you. Hey man, how you doing? That's not it. And I think that goes well to something else. And we don't put it under the care umbrella, but it's probably there. But working off a new perspective on toughness. We both were guilty in our career of trying to create toughness by running guys into the ground.
Yep.
And do you have a line of where that you're in really good shape, but you're not any tougher, you're not any better?
Yeah.
So share some of your thoughts on toughness.
Well, I think toughness goes back to begin a default, right? I mean, I have the greatest dad ever. Love him and my hero. And toughness was you just work harder, right? Not smarter. You just work harder. You just make it happen. Translate that to as a player, right? I mean, if we weren't quote tough enough, we were going to run. And so again, depending on what era you came up with, there was just this automatic default of we're not tough, we're going to condition. Is there time for conditioning? You bet.
And there's a baseline of you have to work hard in order to be good. So we're not dismissing that at all.
Yeah. I think that, and you talk about generational studies, I think that this brass of what can be misconstrued as toughness, this hit your chest, this brash tone, this we're tough. I don't think it works. I think it lacks creativity, and I don't think it's effective. And I can only use my own experience. You got to swallow some pride with that, especially in the moment. But we kept missing rotations. We kept not executing, and I'd stop and run. And as I said, we were in really good shape. We were not any better at execution. And again, I look back on that and say, maybe I should have ran. So toughness, I think defining that for your team, hey, here's what toughness looks like for us. And we're going to celebrate tough plays. When I'd have a guy on a fast break go up and dunk over somebody, I probably was excited just because I was excitable. When a guy, made the proper rotation deep in the shot clock or got to the box out, when it was really hard and made the tough play that the whole crowd, I was going nuts for those things. Furthermore, I think there are tough things that you do as a team. Like you celebrate other guys. That's tough.
Yeah.
How you communicate in the most intense moments. That's tough. But I would challenge every coach at any level to really think about what does toughness mean and what's our reaction to that? Because the knee-jerk or the quick reaction is we're going to condition. Your thoughts?
Well, I think another example, then I'll talk team level toughness, but defining like walking away from a fight during a game is tough. Walking away from a bad call instead of spitting off at the official, that's tough because it's going against what your feelings are, and that's tough. I gravitate when you talk about defining. A guy named Steve Magnus wrote a book called Do Hard Things. And he brought all this research into it and said, here's toughness. Number one is psychological safety. And then number two is an environment you can get better. So psychological safety isn't safe space. People do what they want, but it's if you follow the rules of the team, of the community, and adhere by the expectations, your spot's safe here.
Yeah.
And not, oh, I could be kicked off flippantly at any moment or whatever it may be. So that's psychological safety. So essentially feeling like you're part of the community, and a team as a community. And then number 2 is an environment where you can get better. So you said if you have those 2 things, teams are going to be tough. People are going to be tough. I think there's a third piece of it where you have to go through hard things together. And I think that's where coaches try to create that through conditioning, which I think that's appropriate at times. But going through hard things together while having psychological safety and environment get better, I think that's where toughness comes from in the toughest teams.
I wish what you just said was branded all over about toughness, because I don't think I'll say the majority of coaches or players, I think they feel that. They don't know how to say that.
Yeah, that's when I read it the first time. Like I felt like I've been searching for it. And they write a story in the book that I think is a good illustration, and I'll probably screw up some of the details. So sorry, Steve, if you're watching this. But he talks about Bear Bryant, and the legendary football coach took over at, I think, Texas A&M. And the first fall camp they had, he took them out to Junction, Texas. And there's a book written about this called The Junction Boys. And it's back in the days of no water. And he just worked them to the bone. And they took 100 some odd guys out there, and only 30 came back. And they glorified the story for a long time, because like 2 years later, they won a conference championship, national championship, something like that. Magnus wrote about, yeah, that's true. But 2 years later, there's only 2 or 3 guys left from the original team.
Right.
And Bear Bryant actually went back and apologized to some of the Junction boys, because that wasn't the way to treat people.
Yeah.
So did it build some toughness? Maybe, probably physical toughness on some level. But they won with different players. They probably just had more talent, and good coaching and all that kind of stuff. So I think we can pervert what toughness is.
When you think about team retention, okay, players that come back year after year within your program, go out, come out, finish, graduate, I think you'll find, I don't know how you would do this study. I think that young people are searching and wanting what we're talking about, that definition of toughness. And if your team is truly tough, man, there's a magnet there. It's life-giving. I mean, to know that, like you said, if I do the things that we're asked to do, and I have an opportunity to get better every single day, and I know that psychologically I'm safe, meaning I'm going to be cared for and not beat down or abused all the time. I think there's a lot of players, regardless of their role, that say, yeah, I want to continue to be part of that.
And I think, the retention of a team, I think, comes along because of that. It's just totally different than what I grew up thinking it was.
I'll say this line, and I heard Jay Billis say it about a coach that had said it, but he said, there are tons and tons of people that have been on a team, but never truly members of a team. And that has resonated with me a bunch. Yeah, we've got all these guys on our team, but to be a member of the team, what do you have to do? And I think to be members of a team, you talked about adversity and going through hard things. Man, you've got to be tough together. And that tough together is maybe a whole nother segment.
And I think there's an interesting tie to motivation on this, where we asked all our fall athletes at Friends University, all those anonymous end-of-year evaluations, what motivates you to participate in your sport? And I think there were 250 or 250 responses. 150 of them were teammates, family, or coaches.
Right.
It was other people. And what's interesting, and I didn't expect this, less than 10 of those 150 talked about the coach. It was mostly teammates and family that motivated them, which I think goes back to what we're talking about.
Yeah. I think this question of toughness is not going to end. I think it's going to grow. It's going to expand. And dare I say, I think the coaches and the teams that are on the front end of this, they're going to have some serious success.
Yes. And I think we want to be clear to all sports are different.
Yeah.
And like personally, I don't love the macho tough guy stuff, but some sports to get you ready to play, just the physical nature of it, you have to do something. I mean, some guys just have to do it. Football, wrestling, some of those things, you have to get yourself in a mental state to perform. We're not saying don't do that.
Yeah.
No, we're also saying don't fake it. And that's not toughness.
Yeah.
That's getting yourself in a mental state to perform. Has nothing to do with toughness, trying to act like that.
I coached basketball and now I coach golf. Two very different forms of what we might think of toughness. In one sport, when you make a mistake, basketball, you can actually work harder on the other end and quote make up for that. In the game of golf, when you make a mistake, the worst thing you could do is try harder, right? You've got to flush it, forget it, fix it, be done with it, move on. And so I greatly appreciate you saying that can look a little different. We also talk about like hype number. Some players, to play their best, I was probably one of those. Let's slap the floor and yell and do all those things. For some players, it's that hype number is lower. They have to come in lower kill. It doesn't mean they're less tough. It just may not outwardly look like that.
I remember reading about Tom Osborne. He was a long-time Nebraska football coach, and he used to divide the locker room in pregame based on personality types, because there were some guys that needed to slam their head against the wall. That was probably you. And so they were in one part of the locker room. And then there were some guys that needed to take a nap. That was me. That were in another part of the room. And they had different sections for different people because we're all different.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Beyond Coaching. Beyond Coaching is a podcast developed and produced by the Impactful Coaching Project with the support of Friends University. The Impactful Coaching Project seeks to develop coaches that coach the whole person and is the thought leader in coaching the 21st century athlete. The Impactful Coaching Project produces training, information, and research to help coaches improve. To see more information, go to impactfulcoachingproject.substack.com. Thank you.